Channel 10's youth indoctrination current affairs programme, The Project, just got cancelled. And I immediately thought back to my appearance on their show. Oh, Tom, you were on The Project? Well, yeah, but no, I wasn't invited on as a guest to be given an opportunity to fairly present my point of view. No, they just used selective edited clips of me and other anti-lockdown protesters to shape public opinion against us. And they did this through what they call comedy. Basically just rehashed jokes about tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorists all being crazy. You know, you don't trust the government? You think they're inept? You must be stupid.
Power. Where it gets dangerous is when you start to see misinformation being spread as we've seen it in recent times.
Yeah, that's me. They attacked me first. Well before I made any videos taking the piss out of them and that weasel-faced Waleed Aly, they threw the first punch. And how sweet it is that they have now been cancelled. It wasn't just me that they attacked, it was anyone who dared to question the government's response over lockdowns. In this segment they used short clips of several protesters with no context. They put in some ominous sound effects in the background and they spliced it all together to make us look like an unruly bunch of football hooligans. Then they proceeded to make a series of poorly executed tinfoil hat jokes, suggesting that anyone who agreed with us, or more specifically agreed with Craig Kelly, who was the main target of their piece, was some sort of lunatic conspiracy theorist.
I'm Craig Kelly!
Now I know what you
I'm Craig Kelly!
Prospect.
I'm Craig Kelly!
Jeez.
Craig Kelly.
This is their attempt at comedy. Low-hanging fruit, overdone tinfoil hat jokes. Every mediocre comedian was doing this during COVID and doing their bit for Big Pharma, whether that was in ridiculing those who were hesitant of the jab or by directly promoting the untested medication through their cringe skits.
Cove idiot, more like Cove genius. And then you got people like me who think that paedophile lizards run the government. Oh shit, it's the cops! Can't catch what you can't see.
Back in the day, before the internet, before the algorithm, you go down to the pub and you get laughed out because because your idea's dumb. Those people with the same ideas are on the other side of the country. Now, click of a finger and you find them. So it's quite dangerous.
It is, yeah.
Hello, I'm Sammy. Can you guess who I'm being today? That's right, I'm being an anti-lockdown protester. I've already made my sign. The science is wrong.
5G caused COVID. 5G faked the moon landing.
Check out this loser. There is no joy in any TV show getting axed. You are not being forced to watch it. Dozens of people that you never see on camera may find themselves unemployed, and it's tough out there these days. Not suggesting you must be sad, just respectful. Be respectful, like they were towards us. They had no sympathy for people who lost their jobs over the daft, nonsensical mandates. They weren't on TV to bring facts to the public along with a little bit of light comedy. No, their role was to brainwash the public by demonising anyone who dared oppose the narrative.
It all gives him the oxygen he needs to fuel further division.
They accused Craig Kelly of creating division. This is exactly what they did, created division. They turned a large part of society against those who were just asking fair questions about lockdowns and the whole COVID saga. This, of course, is the old Marxist trick, accuse your enemy of exactly what you're doing to create confusion and chaos. Now, whether or not it was Marx who actually said that is irrelevant. That's their playbook. The masses are easily led. Even the nicest and most well-meaning people can get sucked in by the gloop produced by the likes of The Project. In fact, the only reason I knew I'd been on their stupid programme was because a friend messaged me saying, "Oh my god, Tom, I think I just saw you on The Project. I can't believe you went to those protests. Those are evil, violent people, Tom. You don't belong with them." And of course, when I told her that, yes, I was at those protests, it descended into, what? So you're saying you don't believe in science? Is that it, Tom? Science isn't real to you? And I'm sure many of you had the same conversations with your friends. Hell, even on YouTube, I've had people who liked some of my anti-woke videos then crack the shits when they discovered some of the older stuff. Chris Leach 3958. So you don't believe in vaccines? Do you think the whole thing was the conspiracy? Disappointing. I enjoyed your posts up until now, but if you're just a tinfoil hat wearing loony, I won't be bothered watching again. Chris Leach 3958. Mate, it's okay to agree with me on some things and not on others. What a pathetic existence you must have if you can only associate with those you align with on 100% of social issues. What a reflection on society that this is all it took to influence them. Oh, I don't want to be called a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. I better just believe everything I'm being told by Waleed Aly on the telly. Here's an example of how selective they are in their reporting and their criticism. This grifter, Ray Gunn, scammed her way into the Olympics, taking the place of more deserving females. And how did Waleed treat her?
Ray Gunn, thanks very much for joining us. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's been a pretty wild ride. I'm not going to lie. I definitely have my ups and downs, my good and bad days. Yeah, it definitely has been tough at times. Yeah.
Yeah, I can well imagine. How dark did it get for you?
Fortunately, I got some mental health support.
Compare that pandering to his mocking of us, using all the power and influence available to him through his mainstream peak hour TV show. He never for a moment pondered our position. This is why I despise the little cockroach. Not once did he show sympathy to those demonised by the government. He didn't highlight any of the violence from the police towards us. No, all he did was further the narrative pushed by the police that protesters were the violent ones and the cops were just kind of like innocent bystanders who hadn't done anything at all to initiate any confrontations. And the public bought it all. Purple Pingers here encouraged his followers to break into houses and squat in them. And this resulted in them trashing one property and stealing from the owner. The project gave him airtime to give his side of the story, and then the hosts failed to press him when he offered the tiniest throwaway apology and then went on to further push his own cause. Not once did lockdown protesters get the chance to challenge Waleed on his tinfoil hat blanket analysis of us. Too risky to let the public hear a fair argument to that.
Jordan, thank you for joining us. How do you feel when you hear those words from Carol?
Yeah, I think I feel very sorry that her belongings were taken. But I also think about the fact that every 4 days a young person experiencing homelessness dies in this country.
One more example for you. Here's one of their hosts gushing uncontrollably over ex-Victorian Premier and lying rat, Dan Andrews.
And I'm too excited. Hello, I'm Celia. I'm honestly like really starstruck. I'm like, that's the guy from the conference. It's the guy from the conference.
I've got a tie on. I don't normally have a tie on, but anyway. Parliament's sitting. We have very old-fashioned rules. You need to wear a tie in the chamber and stuff like that.
You do whatever you want, Dan, as far as I'm concerned. But this is the thing. I know there are a lot of conflicting opinions. I'm a Melburnian about you and your actions. But for me, I've been with you all the way. And it's gotten almost a weirdly emotional connection. One, because I have some father issues. But also, you know, you were in our lives every day. Those conferences became like what you said, really important to us, and it could make or break, you know, huge changes in our lives. Basically, I miss you. Is there a chance you could do a conference just every day about like what you have for breakfast, or just checking in?
I'll have a think about that, Celia. I'll come back to you.
Yeah, I know, it's sickening, isn't it? And obviously she's putting on an act for TV. I'll even concede that the daddy issues comment was funny, something that's rare for the project, but it influences the public. And this is what's called social proof, telling the masses which politicians are cool and must be obeyed without question. I hope Waleed's got something else lined up though, because his wife feeds on attention. She's got the, you know, worship me because I'm a white girl with a dark boyfriend thing going on. She plays dress up pretending to have converted to Islam. I mean, at most, she's converted to her own soft interpretation of Islam that includes pretty headscarves and dresses. If he's not got a TV gig which she can leech relevance from, then she'll probably lose attraction to him. Maybe Waleed could join me on YouTube. Think he would do that? Imagine if nobody was prepared to pay him for his takes on current events, would he, in his spare time, set up a YouTube channel and provide commentary with the possibility of $0 in return, purely out of his own motivation to provide entertainment? I doubt it. And that's how you can gauge the integrity of these muppets. He could join me for a weekly special. Malcontent and Waleed read the news. At least you'd get some alternative views. They, the hosts of the project, are such weak individuals. If the government, or their bosses, told them tomorrow to reverse all of their opinions on woke culture, COVID, lockdowns, and to start giving sympathy to those they previously attacked, then they would immediately mentally adjust and take on that new position. So no, I don't sympathise with them losing their jobs. But as much as I did have a chuckle over this, I know that the media machine will already be cooking up a replacement show with a new look and format that's aimed at poisoning the minds of the youth.